and development of left, regarding their contribution in our freedom movement, and they can also ask about their limitations. So, there is a need to appreciate how in 1920s left or left wing politics started influencing our national movement. But before I can give you the development of left in India, you have to understand that when this term left emerged, what is the origin of this term left? If you have some idea about world history, you must be knowing that during the French Revolution, the term right and left used by the revolutionaries, but this term acquired wider meaning after industrial revolution. And in India, there was influence of communist revolution of 1917, and therefore there was a rise of communist party in India. And after some time in 1930s, you will see development of left within Congress also, within Congress, and gradually there was a formation of Congress Socialist Party, CSP, Congress Socialist Party. And then you have some minor communist parties also in India. They could not get proper support, mass support, but yes, they also survived, they also contributed, right. So, in this topic, we have to understand how rise and development of left. Okay. So, what we are going to do? We are going to discuss rise and development of left. Rise of left in India, right. We have to see rise of left in India. It is fine. And when we say rise of left in India, you will see, I told you that the term, of course, originated during French Revolution, but it became very important, very popular, in the late 19th, you can say 20th century, and you can say, in the first half of the, you can say 20th century, 1917, 1917 revolution, it acquired wider meaning. It is fine. So, the term left you have to understand in that sense. So, first important point we can add, they can also ask you that when this term emerged, so we can add the term left, emerged during French Revolution. The term left emerged during French Revolution. The term left emerged during French Revolution. The origin of this term, most of the scholars, they suggest that, you can say it is French Revolution. Done. Then we can add that, you can say circumstances favoring, circumstances favoring the growth of left ideologies in India. Circumstances favoring the growth of left ideologies in India. They can ask you the same question. Circumstances favoring the growth of left ideologies in India. Fine, This can be a question for you, circumstances favoring left ideologies in India. And whenever you are mentioning this circumstances favoring, right, you can say left in ideologies in India, you must start your situation, right, during the circumstance, situation, you can say those situation, right, during the First World War, particularly the Russian Revolution. So we can add that Russian Revolution of 1917, Russian Revolution, which is also called Bolshevik Revolution. Bolshevik Revolution, right, played important role in the rise, right, you can see in the emergence of, right, this kind of idea, leftist ideology, right. So first important thing we have to mention that how Russian Revolution contributed in the rise of, right, in the rise of left ideologies in India, right. Then we can also, right, and then, right, probably you would be asking that what is this Russian Revolution? We will be taking this Russian Revolution separately in world history. So in 1917 there was a Russian Revolution under the leadership of Lenin, right, and it actually favored left politics. It actually favored Marxian ideology. Marxian ideology, ideology of Marx, right, talked about class struggle, right, talked about conflict in society, talked about demerits of capitalism, and they talked about revolution, and finally they say after revolution there would be a classless society. So this kind of approach Marx developed. He talked about equality, talked about class struggle, right. So in world history we would be discussing Marxism, Russian Revolution separately, right. So there is no need to worry, right. So but I told you whenever we say Marx, it is about class conflict, right, and they criticized capitalism and they talked about a revolution, and they say that after revolution, right, gradually we will achieve that, right, we will be, right, you can say moving towards classless society. So Russian Revolution actually popularized the ideas of Karl Marx. Fine. So Russian Revolution popularized the ideas of Karl Marx, and Karl Marx idea, right, was idea of the left politics, right, and Russian Revolution or Bolshevik Revolution popularized the ideas of left, and therefore India also came under leftist politics, right, the left politics. And what is the meaning of left politics in general? The meaning of left politics in general, simple, if I can simplify, right, it is all about talking about, right, you can say the weak section, the peasant, workers, talking about their interest, right, talking against those exploitation, right, by the capitalist, and they try to serve the interest of peasant and workers. So left politics, right, so leftist. So this started, right, this kind of idea acquired, right, the greater meaning now, right. Well, so whenever you are writing why left, so we must start with Russian Revolution. Fine. Then second important point regarding the circumstances leading to rise of left was that many young persons, right, that time, students, leaders, many young persons that time, right, who participated in the Gandhian movement, right, who participated in the Gandhian movement, right, who participated in the Gandhian movement, right, they were now dissatisfied. They were now dissatisfied. Why they were dissatisfied? Because Gandhi promised Swaraj, but he could not give Swaraj, and he withdrew the movement, if you remember, non-cooperation movement after Chauri. And he withdrew the movement, if you remember, non-cooperation movement after Chauri Chauda. So there was dissatisfaction in 1920s, and those dissatisfied youth started moving towards what? This leftist ideology. They started talking about peasant, right? They started talking about peasant, they started talking about workers. For example, we can add, for example, some examples would be relevant here. For example, we can add that in Bombay, S.A. right, Dange. So they say that they all were, right, you can say they all had expectation, right, from Gandhi, right, ideology, but gradually they started moving towards leftist ideology. They started talking about the interest of peasant and workers. For example, S.A. Dange in Bombay, right, published a pamphlet called Gandhi versus Lenin. Gandhi versus Lenin. S.A. Dange, right, talked about, right, you can say, or published a pamphlet, Gandhi versus Lenin. Then he also was associated with a weekly called The Socialist. The Socialist, right. Then after S.A. Dange, you can give example of Ghulam Hussain. Ghulam Hussain. Ghulam Hussain. So Ghulam Hussain also played important role in Punjab. Ghulam Hussain, and he published Inqalab. He published Inqalab. Right. So I hope that these young, right, you can say leaders or the, right, the person, they started contributing towards what you call leftist ideology, right. Done. So Ghulam Hussain. Then after, you will see Ghulam Hussain, you have a very popular name in Bengal like Muzaffar Ahmad. Muzaffar Ahmad, right, Muzaffar Ahmad. Then there was Nazrul Islam, right. So these names are important, right. So the new trend of asking question, whether you have analyzed or not, right, they are now asking very typical kind of name. So all these name you should be, you can say, right, revising very properly. So you should be at least thinking that, okay, this name can be associated with left, this name can be associated with revolutionary, this name can be associated with the Gandhian movement, like that. So Muzaffar Ahmad, Nazrul Islam, they also played important role in Bengal, and they were associated with some magazine, you can say, called Navayug, like, right, Langal, Langal, Langal. Fine. So these name gradually you have to remember. Navayug, Langal. So they all started contributing, right, in leftist ideology. Then you have, right, in Madras also, you have M. Singaravelu, right, and he was associated with labor Kisan Gadget, Labor Kisan Gadget. It is fine, Labor Kisan Gadget, right. So, gradually you will see that there was a rise of, right, this kind of ideology, and these, right, you can say gentlemen, they all contributed towards rise of, right, left ideology in 1920s mainly. Some of them, they were before 1920s also, right. So, Singaravelu. Then of course, Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose also contributed in the rise of, right, you can say rise of left ideology when rise of left ideology when they attacked imperialism, capitalism, landlordism, right. So, they also contributed. And then in 1930s you will see that, right, Bhagat Singh, revolutionary, he also contributed in the popularization of the left ideology. Well, so I hope that you are now getting that of course Russian revolution contributed, but these, right, young leaders also contributed in the popularization of the left ideology. Then next important, right, dimension you can add why rise of left. So, we can add that you can say that if a section of radicals were not satisfied with capitalism after great economic depression 1929, great economic depression 1929, because you know that great economic depression originated in, you can say, US, but it influenced India and other countries also. So, unemployment and great economic depression actually questioned capitalism. Now people started losing faith in capitalism, and this gave rise to, right, the popularity of left ideologies. Fine. So, you will see that the circumstances, or you can say the situation in 1920s and 30s contributed in the rise of, right, left ideologies in India. Fine. Now, when you understand how rise of left, right, we have to understand now how the development of this ideology, leftist ideology. Fine. And whenever we are discussing, right, the development of leftist ideology, right, so we can add point 1, that first important name in the development of leftist ideology, right, was M.N. Roy. Right. So, M.N. Roy is the first name that we have to remember. He came into contact with Russian communist. He went to Moscow. He attended Communist International in 1920, and finally, right, M.N. Roy established Communist Party of India in Tashkent, right, in Tashkent. Finally, he established Communist Party of India in Tashkent, outside India. It is fine. Will you remember it? M.N. Roy contributed. How he contributed? He came into contact with Russian communist, went to Moscow, attended Communist International, right, and then finally established Communist Party of India in Tashkent outside India. So whenever you are remembering, right, you can say the development of communism or the left ideology, so we have to remember, right, you can say, right, M.N. Roy. M.N. Roy, right, would be the first important name, right. Then second important development, right, was that because of the influence of this kind of development in Tashkent, we can add that, right, a number of left wing, a number of left wing, right, groups emerged. A number of left wing groups emerged, right, in different parts of India, and finally most of these groups came together in Kanpur. Remember this for your preliminary, Kanpur, right, most of this in Kanpur. It is fine. Will you remember it? Communist Party of India, 1924, I said, right, there was a gathering, right, and most of the scholar, right, even some of the book you will see that finally in December 1925 it was formalized. So 24, 25, right. Appropriate would be 24 only, right. So some of you can question that if they will ask question 24 or 25. So standard textbook they are mentioning 24 only, right. Done. But Bipin Chandra, right, in his, you can say some of his books, right, mentioned 25 December it was formalized. So 24, 25, this kind of confusion sometime we have. Don't think that in history we have, right, only confusion. No, right. Sometime we have this kind of confusion, right. So Kanpur, right, 24, 25, Communist Party, right, came into existence, and it is said that one man called Satya Bhakta, right, played important role in this. Fine. So after this you will see that there was a development of communist movement, right, when India, in Kanpur, Communist Party of India was formed, and it started influencing different leaders at regional level, and they all started organizing peasant and workers, for example, so, right, they all started organizing peasant and worker. So what was the last point we mentioned, right? Suppose third, now we can mention fourth, right. So the fourth development was, you will see that Labor Swaraj Party was formed. Labor Swaraj Party was formed, right, in Bengal. Labor Swaraj Party was formed in Bengal, 1925, Labor Swaraj Party. So of course left wing politics, they started organizing, right, peasant, workers. Then you will see, right, the fifth development, just I am, organizing it very properly so that in case they ask you to arrange these party in an order, you can arrange, right. So Labor Swaraj Party was formed, and after that you have Congress Labor Party. Congress Labor Party was formed, right. Congress Labor Party was formed, right, in Bombay. Congress Labor Party was formed in Bombay. Then the sixth development you can remember that in Punjab, Kirti Kisan Party, Kirti Kisan Party was formed. Kirti Kisan Party was formed. Then after that Labor Kisan Party was formed. Labor Kisan Party was formed, right. right, in Madras. If I am not mentioning the date, it means that, right, not possible to remember the date. So, 2-3 dates where you have to remember, I am mentioning, right. So, we cannot remember all those dates, 24, 25, all those in 20s only, right. So, overall you will see that this was the order, you can say Labour Swaraj Party, Congress Labour Party, right. So, till that order you can remember. It is not that suppose we are not mentioning the date, so you can say inquire and, right, you should start adding that. You can add in your notes, but it is not possible to remember, right. So, what you have to remember that all these parties had left ideology, they popularized left ideology in different part. So, Labour Kisan Party also formed in Madras, right. Then after that, the biggest development was that we can mention that in 1928, WPP, right, very popular, Workers and Peasant Party, Workers and Peasant Party, right, Workers and Peasant Party was formed, Workers and Peasant Party was formed, right. So, till now you will see that they never questioned Congress. Some of them, they were ready to work within the Congress, that we have to remember as a concept, right. So, till 1928 you will see that most of you will see that most of them, they were ready to work within Congress, and their main focus was to organize peasant and workers and peasant party. But, right, till here it was, right, you can say proper growth, popularity, but after 1929 you will see that government repression started. They started punishing these communists before that also, right. There was some conspiracy case, like you have the Peshawar conspiracy case, right. Then you have Kanpur conspiracy case. Have you heard about these conspiracy cases regarding the communist? Sometime they can give you question that this conspiracy case is related to. So, we can add that after 1929, this kind of, you can say, conspiracy cases and repression by the government was more. So, we can add next point that government started suppressing the communist movement, government started suppressing, they started suppressing the communist movement, like Peshawar conspiracy case, then you have Kanpur conspiracy case, and finally the most important was, right, most important was Meerut conspiracy case, very important, Meerut conspiracy case. And in this case they arrested 32 leaders, right. So, in the Meerut conspiracy case they arrested 32 leaders. Why they are doing this, all this conspiracy case? They wanted to suppress this communist movement, and therefore they started arresting people. And Meerut conspiracy case, right, related to, right, you can say, right, those communists, and 32 communists. Some of the British communists were also involved in Meerut conspiracy case. Sometimes they are asking, 3 British communists were also, you can say, arrested, right, in this Meerut conspiracy case, right. Who all were those British communists? Philip, P-H-I-L-I-P, Philip Spratt, Ben B-R-A-D, right, Ben Bradley. And then you will see Hutchinson, Hutchinson. So Meerut conspiracy case was a blow. It actually weakened the communist movement, right. So Meerut conspiracy case was the most important conspiracy case. And what was the trend? What I am trying to tell you, that there was a growth, and then you will see that there was, right, the downward trend. Why downward trend? Because of government suppression, right, government suppression. Fine. Then after that you will see that, right, when this kind of suppression continued, right, you will see that, right, there was now a gap between Congress and communist. I hope you understand it. Why this gap? Because they probably started realizing that probably Congress is also, or the nationalists, they are also with this kind of, right, you can say conspiracy, or with this kind of, suppression. Reality was that many nationalists also supported this communist. They fought for them, right. But this kind of communication gap was there between Congress and communist, right, and colonial government highlighted this kind of gap, right. So you will see this kind of gap, and because of that, right, the Congress and communists, they started, right, moving in different direction. There was some deviation. Why deviation in communist?